Good morning. Welcome to Saturday morning's live paint. This morning I am going to do a painting that I'm going to name Sublime. It's going to have purples, a little bit of gold and white, kind of draping down the painting. Real quickly, I wanted to show you the finished one. Oh, let's see if we can get it in the light better. This is the finished one that we did live streaming a couple days ago. This one is called Imminent Threat. Again, my reaction to the downing of the Ukrainian plane and 172 people dying, it was just avoidable. Let's just say that. It was avoidable. Things just went their course. So I'm over this anger, kind of, and we're going to go ahead and start with a new painting. So, put this safely away. Okay. And we are going to start out. Well, probably we'll get around to the whites. First, I want to get some purples laid down. There, is that good? Okay, so I'm going to paint this way, but really the finished product is this way. So I wish there was somebody to remind me to go this way. Let's move the camera up a little bit. There, maybe that's better. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to establish some of my darker colors and their pathways. I imagine this will take about an hour. Shouldn't take that much longer. And if that's more time than you have, then you can come back. It'll be archived on my YouTube channel, which you should be subscribing to. Okay, we're gonna drape it. This is already pre-treated, just like I did before. We need to make sure that we go all the way to the edges. Some of it will drip off, and that's okay because I'll come back to it later, and I'll fix up the sides after it's dried and treated. So these are basically the base. We're going to put, kind of sandwich it in a little bit here. There we go. I got some new purple, so I was dying to figure it out. And lo and behold, this morning I'm in a purplish kind of mood. So I'm putting it on extra thick because, okay. It's also important here is your composition. So you want to make sure you have your highlights and lowlights in the right place. I'll come back to this color a little bit later. Okay, that's it. That's good. That's thick enough. I am going to want to have some streaks in the middle though. Like right there. Right there. Give it some balance here, here, and one more here. Okay, we'll see that purple again for highlight time. And now we're going to go a purple up from that. And I suppose it's time for this one. I took all my paint keys inside. My least favorite paint key. So, anyway, my name is Chris Sheritz. I'm an abstract expressionist. Abstract basically means things that are not. There were, let's go back. There were like Rembrandt, that was very realistic. There is still a very thriving realism, and that is mostly portraits and landscapes and cityscapes. And then there were French and German impressionists that kind of rocked that boat. One of the first impressionists, kind of what's known as the godfather of Impressionism, his name is Edward Manet, not to be confused with Claude Monet, who came later. Actually, I'm not sure, but maybe a pupil of his. Anyway, that was Impressionism, and Impressionism, as opposed to realism, Impressionism is when you take what you see and add some emotion to it. You can see that in, particularly in like Cézanne, where he used light. And one of my very, very favorite paintings is The Ballet Dancer. And if you haven't seen it, look up Paul Cézanne and the ballet. And his use of lighting in there is very, he has this balance, which kind of seems unnatural and just stage lit. It is so, so incredible. I just admire that painting so much. Okay, we're going to want to put a streak in there, so I'll make sure that these paints are actually matching up. Otherwise, we have some blank spots. I don't want it so thick. Okay, and then down through here, a thinner line. Okay. And anyway, after Cézanne, you've got Claude Monet. You've got a lot of really good French artists, kind of the French Brat Pack, if you say, and there are lots of really cool. I just admire that group so much. What a great time, huh? Being in Paris and all of you hanging out at coffee shops, doing, who knows what they were drinking? A lot of wine, I imagine, a lot of wine. And, other than the health issues of that time, I so wish that I could have been part of that. I'm going to hold on that for a minute, and we are going to I'm going to put a little bit of contrast in there. Probably have about 100 different paints to choose from. So kind of want to keep in the purple family. Maybe we'll use that as a highlight. Now, around the turn of the century, you started having impressionists going towards post-impressionism. And post-impressionism, oh, I have another one of these colors I'd rather use. Post-impressionism is when you get into like Van Gogh, and that's when they started really expressing what they saw in a more abstract form, kind of going a little bit away from impressionism still. Where are you, you kind woman? Ah, here we go. And then you go into straight out expressionism. In expressionism, I think the easiest way to explain that is that with expressionism, you had people, and this is again just really radical at the time, taking things that they don't see, but that they just dream up. So really, you've gone from realism through impressionism, through post-impressionism and Van Gogh, and just all these awesome forces. And then they yellow buddy, you're going down. Then they led to, expressionism. And expressionism can be easiest described as things that you dream up, things that are in your head. And I'm just going to put a stripe down here. We're not going to, I just want some light to come down here. Get myself a bit of a triad going here. And really, it's things that you think of behind your eyes. Just a little bit down here. And so, in the purest and most simplistic way, the difference that you have between impressionism and expressionism is things that you can see in your eyes, and then things that you can't see that are just pure emotion, and you're expressing, hence expressionism, you're expressing your innermost thoughts. And for me, again, as I think everybody knows at this point, I am bipolar. And bipolar gives me I guess I can just be very emotional. And I am very well medicated and very well taken care of, and very, I guess we should say, ooh, no, I'm going to keep this for later. I already know what I'm going to do with this color. This is going to be a highlight color. So, I tend to be very emotional. And yes, I cry at the stupidest things on TV. My wife thinks it's cute. I think if anybody else saw just what a big baby I can be, that it would be rather embarrassing. Now I want to go with a little bit of contrasting shades through here. You can see that most of my paints are in coffee cans and stuff, and that's because my wonderful, beautiful sister, Nikki, she does pour painting, P-O-U-R, not pour as in the equality, because I think she's just a fantastic artist, and I'm very, very proud of her. And so she goes to these hardware stores that are in her neighborhood and finds these just terrific colors. My neighborhood tends to have more browns. I guess it's the neighborhood colors. I don't know. And just the difference in those colors is kind of weird. But so what we do with the coffee cans is I go over to her house, or she comes over here, and we split up colors because she doesn't quite need as many colors as I do. There, we're starting to get some balance already. And so what we use is, people go to the hardware store and they order paint and it's not quite the right shade or whatever. I call it oops paint. And oops paint is very valuable to me because instead of having a ultra prime here that would sell for about $56 US, 1 gallon, it's insane. I get it for $9 because somebody doesn't like the color that they got, and well, it works for me. That color will work for me. And so I do that, and then this white right here is actually ceiling paint because this 2 gallon is only $26. And I can stretch that pretty far. It's the only color that I usually have to buy, actually, that color. All the other ones I either use, or if I don't like it, I mix the colors. And again, they'll end up going into this is dry. They'll end up going into a mix. I will mix my own colors. So when you have this many colors, you just start going, well, that shade's not quite right. Okay, baby. Let's work from the bottom this time. At this point, these are just dripping off to the side. I need to move these paints out of the way. There we go. Drip on. I have long since destroyed the garage floor. And luckily, ever since I started making money with my art, my wife just doesn't care. So I was able to move out of my inside studio and over here. Now let's get back to art history. I forgot to finish that. So I'm an expressionist, and after expressionism came like cubism, and cubism being something that you would know from from like Pablo Picasso. And then you've got like, there are different movements in there. And then of course you have like Jackson Pollock, which I just watched an interesting movie on YouTube about Jackson Pollock and his relationship with, I think her name was Peggy. I know her name is Guggenheim. I'm pretty sure it was Peggy. And she was New York and very influential in the art world. And she got connected with Jackson Pollock through some friends, and she actually took him as a she became like his benefactor. He actually got paid, which in the time I imagine is pretty close to like $1,000 or something a month retainer, and kind of her art monkey, which I've offered out. If you're looking for an art monkey, I am more than willing to be an art monkey. That's nice. Okay, we definitely need some yellows in there. That's the yellowest house paint I have. That was pretty good. Let's see if I have any left in there. Maybe a little splash of green somewhere. But, he really did like probably the most magical piece in abstract art, which is called the mural, which she had to make because she was having a house party with a lot of influential New Yorkers and with other artists, and she really wanted to show off her art monkey, really. And the story goes that he waited to work on it until like 2 days before, but that's not true because there were so many layers in the mural that it would have been impossible for it to dry in those layers. So it probably took him a good month, which is ridiculously fast when you see that piece. Just put a touch of green. So this is really like the base. And then what we're going to do with this base is highlight it. Then we're going to drag. We're going to use actually either a fine tipped brush, like a watercolor brush, or, okay, just this will be a little bit of dark in the middle. And we're just going to drag it through. That's it. That's all the green I want. And then I want to get This is it for the green. Green is it's like black. It'll just take over the painting like crazy. Okay, so that's looking good. We have that other pink that I want in the middle. Oh, here we go. Yeah, beautiful. And you can go away. Oh, I know what we want there. Oh no, I do want this pink in there. Some gold. Wrong gold. This gold. Still doing okay up there? Okay. So then we go from abstract to pop culture. And what pop art really is it's taking, in its most ridiculous definition, it is taking elements of pop culture and turning them into art. Hence, you have Andy Warhol starting to work with. Okay, we might as well start our highlights. There we go. Where you had Andy Warhol taking everyday things like the soup cans, and then taking photos. Like today, we'll take photos and we'll Photoshop them around, and they will. Okay, now I want to highlight. So they'll take the colors and like, okay, like today we take like Photoshop. We Photoshop pictures and add different things to it. This is like my favorite pink here. I mix a lot of other colors with the colors to give them more definition. So that when you look at the strokes in my paintings, you actually see quite a bit of stuff. You get a lot of different colors. There we go. That's nice. So then you get into abstract modernism, and that just kind of runs the gamut of all kinds of things. Okay. Okay. Oh, and there was somebody else leaving me messages. Who is that? Okay. Sorry, Ange, I hope that you find me. You know what? I got some flesh tones down here. This is a nice flesh tone. Do a lot of the same colors onto the similar colors. Ooh, I love this color. So, who are my influences? My dad was the filmmaker Paul Schertz. And his, I guess his most popular films are like Touching and Nothing. Let's just fill that one. Touching and Nothing. And Declarative Mode. And then his, I think he has 30 single projector pieces, maybe more. And so okay, how much more can this handle? It's definitely going to handle some pink and gold, pink and yellow, for sure. So his installation work, which you can see interface, shutter interface. You can see that at Chicago Art Institute. You can see it all over the place, but these are the places that actually own one. Own it. They own a copy so that they can show it anytime they want. And so not only the Art Institute, but also Chicago Art Institute, but also the Smithsonian's Museum. Gosh, I'll think of it in a second. Also, you can see a lot of his work at MoMA in New York City and any place else that I'm going to try to keep the you can see it at the Whitney Museum, MoMA, Birchfield, the Albright Knox in Buffalo. Birchfield is where in college that I graduated from. We actually donated a lot of work, my wife and I donated a lot of work to the Birchfield when my dad died. So they have stuff you can see. I don't know if they have it on permanent display or what. They should, that's what I'm saying. Okay, we're going to add a little bit of highlight to the middle here. Bring your eyes up. There's one. We're going to bring two. Okay, and we're going to shoot for a little bit of three here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Dash here. Okay. And now we are going to take, I'm going to start working on more highlights, and then soon we'll be ready to go. This is that teal that I wanted to go with. It's a highlight because it's a very dense paint, so it will sink in really well. So is the white that I'm going to use. It's very heavy textured so that when it dries, it'll give those really big canyons, because as it dries, it'll start sinking through the other paint. And especially if I have a heat lamp on it, which I will. Okay, now we want to go back to some of our original colors. Just down here. We want to go back and get some more of my Sublime stuff. Oh, I didn't put the red in there. Where's my red? I meant to put in red. Well, here's 8 to put in there. No, I had it in my hand and never put it in. Oh, yeah, okay. All I did was highlight. Yeah, okay. So you can find my dad's art all over the world. And, you know, maybe someday, maybe never. His art, you can pick up a nice little piece of graph paper with felt pen on it. It's all yours for the simple price of $17,000. And his paintings can go upwards of $50,000, $60,000. His films can go as much as $250,000. So yeah. And fortunately, my artwork is so different than his that I'm not like competing for it or anything. I'm going to add a little bit more dark over here, kind of mysterious dark. And some of that light purple. So yeah, his stuff is super expensive. He died in '93. He was a professor of media studies at the State University of New York. And he became real famous in the 60s. He was really young. Handled it okay until he got much older. And then he didn't handle it so well. My uncle and he both committed suicide, I'm afraid. And, my uncle Greg committed suicide, I don't know, I think it was about 1980. It's before my dad and I lived in Italy, so it must have been about 1980. So my dad was on sabbatical, in Positano, Italy. And so I spent time with him while he was there, which was great. Positano and the Amalfi Coast rocks. If you can afford it, do it. Okay, kids, there's only one other color I want on there, and that is some white. And then we're going to get to the fun part. Well, fun for me, all of a sudden it's going to start taking shape. You're going to go, what? Come on. I just don't want to break a nail. Good. Oh, I need another stick. I just used this the other day, so it's still stirred. You always stir your stuff. And as far as white and black go, that should not be corrupted. I don't care if I accidentally get one color in the wrong place. Okay. This is just going to be highlight in here more. This white will show up a lot wider when it's dry. We're going to use that later again. And we're going to put a couple of hints of black. You can't you can't move black a lot because of its persuasive nature. So put a few blacks in there, maybe a black dot there, but mostly up there. Okay, so there's the groundwork. Here's a fine thing. So we're going to go from top to bottom. And this, when I say that I blend the colors on the canvas, this is what I mean. kind of take in whichever colors you want in this section. Okay, I'm probably going to shut up now. So what have we not talked about? I am based here in Denver. I live right near Red Rocks. Oddly enough, I currently live about a mile where I spent my my school part of the year. Spent a lot of time with my dad during the summers. In the summer, I went to Buffalo or wherever my dad happened to be. So, right after high school, I married, I guess what you could call my junior high school sweetheart. Since my first crush on her was at Carmody Middle School. Okay. And so I've known and loved her since the 7th grade. Now, when we got married, we immediately moved from suburban Denver, Colorado, to San Francisco Bay Area, sorry. And when I was in San Francisco, I worked in warehousing. And in warehousing, I became a warehouse manager and first I worked on a forklift. Kind of worked my way up through the ranks from forklift to warehouse manager over the course of 7 years. And I left to be an operations manager at a facility out of the Port of Oakland. You gotta stay away from that green. And when we lived in the Bay Area, we loved it. Loved the Bay Area because we were able to travel around. Take weekend trips through Napa and San Francisco, of course. And we both had good jobs. You know, as a 19-year-old, I got married in 1984. As a 19-year-old, I had a good paying job with full benefits, something that seems to be quite unheard of these days. I was a warehouse manager, much to the horror of my dad. Hello. Who thought I should be an artist? Isn't that funny? Most people, when they tell their parents, "Oh, I'm going to be an artist," they're like, "Oh, hells, get a backup plan." My dad's impression of the whole thing is that I should be an artist with business as a background thing. So we lived there a few places. I did the things I'm supposed to do with 2 young boys and a wife. I worked my ass off. And I worked my way up to a vice president. But didn't have a college degree. Now, my entire life has been spent, because I spent my summers with my dad, my entire life was spent in museums, and my dad was very intent on making sure that I had culture. So I always took me to ballet, operas. Marriage of Figaro is my favorite. Can't remember. One time we went to the ballet in New York City and saw Mikhail Baryshnikov. And that man was just unbelievable. Oh my goodness. Every time he took a leap in the air, the whole audience would gasp. Because he seemed to float. step back. And obviously he took me to the finest museums in the world. And everywhere we went, all the time, it was like being in art school, because he was a professor, media studies. My friends that growing up were either children of friends or patrons of the arts. One of my best friends growing up was Eric Burlow. I have to give him a shout out. I think he's gone on to do like oceanography, something like that. He's a very smart person. I liked him quite a bit. Every time I was in New York, I spent at least 3 or 4 days at their beach house on Lake Erie, and it was just so awesome. He also led a different kind of life than I did. He's quite a bit wealthier than my family. Okay, let's get around that green before we play with it. I'm telling you, green will get into your life like no other color. I'm afraid of that green. Let's get this purple done. So Sherry and I spent 10 years in the San Francisco Bay Area. Had our 2 boys, Jeff and Greg, while we were living in San Francisco. And when we lived in Buffalo, we had our 3rd son, Bobby. We all have family names. Rob's really big on my wife's family. Gregory was the name of my uncle, so Greg. My dad's middle name was Jeffrey, so Jeffrey. And My youngest son's name is Robert Christopher. Robert was really big in my wife's family. So, Robert Christopher. Clearly, I had to get my name in there somewhere. So everybody has a family name. So my 3 boys are grown now. Bobby just moved back from Australia. So he's living with us right now. Jeff is kind of living with us, but really only on you see him on the weekdays. That's really about it. Okay, I'm gonna go for this green bad daddy. Let's see what I mean about it just wanting to take over shit. Green ends up being a center focal point. Stretch it out. Don't want it to be a blob. To be elongated. This one, pull that down. Okay. Bring it up. So I had some art education in college. The colleges in Buffalo, New York. I'd really like to bring that out over here. Yeah, like this area needs a little more work. And my other, yeah, let's take that up in the middle of the orange. My other education was at the University of Denver. I did quite well in undergrad. I finished third in my class out of 900, so I did okay. Political science degree. And then in Arabic studies while I was there. And I went to the University of Denver, which is a supremely excellent school. It's Colorado's Ivy League, so to speak. Might just come down just a bit more. And straighten that line out. Straighten that line out. These blues need to straighten out a little bit. So then I got my studied for 2 years at the University of Denver's Graduate School of International Studies. And my major there was international security. I rocked the shit out of that too. So I went on to get another master's degree in education. So I thought I'd be like my dad and teach. Didn't really happen. But I do have a splendid education, overeducated for now, just being an old bipolar artist. So now, hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loans. I don't use any of them. Professionally, as a person, I think it's made me a better person. well read, well educated. I'm glad for that. But for the rest of my life, this is it. Oh, so as far as my wife goes, that crazy lady. No, I'm just kidding. We've been married for about 35 years. And I can't even fathom being with anyone else. She's my best friend, has been my best friend pretty much all my life. Huh? I'm 54 now, turned 55 in a couple months. Don't really think of myself as old at all. Generally hang out with people much younger than me. It's not on purpose, it's just the way things have gone. Definitely more of a child at heart. I was really into climbing 14ers a few years ago with my friend Terry and Casey Barbie, who is Sherry Nye's very good friend in high school. That's her son. He's an excellent human being. I enjoy every time I can hang out with him. He's got a gorgeous girlfriend. Guess if I want my Instagram page to really take off and just have shots of her in it, seems to help. And she is about as fine a human being as you could possibly imagine. Okay, we're getting there. Need a little bit more definition over here. It is better. missed it. There we go. You're almost there. Just doing this to make sure that all these blends are done uniformly, like that. Okay, so there's different weighted paints in here, and when it dries, it will have canyons of lines. Okay, here we go. This is Good view. And that is Sublime. There. Here we go. Sublime. Works for me. We're done. Brushes down. Sometimes I do additional things to them, but not this time. So that's kind of neat. And we'll stop that. We'll let that finish out down there. And hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And waiting for this little blob to finish out. Go, go, go. And there we go. Now it's done. So, when it's done, we'll put a video on it. But when it's dry, I'll put a video on it. And let's see if I can't get you a little bit better view here. And now maybe you can see a little bit more of the detail that's in it. There we go. Okay. That's enough playing around. And, okay, it was an hour and a half. I thought it was going to be an hour. But, hey, sometimes, yeah, this was a small one. So, like, a 4x5 take me upwards of 6 or 7 hours, and I don't stop till I'm done. Bathroom breaks first. So anyway, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it. Put a like on there. Follow me. I think it's at 1,000 follows. I can annoy you with some advertising. And, well, being an artist is all about making a lot of art, selling it, marketing yourself, and keep making a lot of art. Crappy, good, doesn't matter. This is probably, I don't know, I lost track, but it's probably about my 400th, maybe more piece. And I'll keep making them. My goal is to make at least 10 a month. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I take 15. So, as it approaches an hour and a half, I am going to welcome you to my studio. And I hope that you have a great rest of your weekend. And sorry, Kansas City, but I really want to see you lose today or tomorrow. Either way, I'm going to watch it. Love you all. Family, friends, love y'all. Henry and Ange, love you. Nikki, love you. Kathy, love you. And I will, I'll see you next time. Thank you. Oh, next time being next Saturday at 10 o'clock. I'm going to try to make this my rule. 10 o'clock, Christopher Sherritt's YouTube channel, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow me.